Rightio, it's showtime. Everybody's going to be joining now. So exciting, a Spa Professionals Guild group coaching session. Yes, and we have our famous speaker back, which I'll tell you about in a minute.
No pressure.
No, not at all. This is second nature to you, Andy, this talking stuff. It's in our blood. Yeah, of course. Hello, everybody. Okay, so whilst people are joining, because normally it takes them a couple of minutes to join, let's all go into the chat box and your name, what country you're from, and also your word. What is your word for today, for this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever in the world you are? Hi, Amy. So nice to see you again. Awesome to have you back on. Hello, Gail. So nice to have you on. Okay, so let's go, everybody. So that's Gail from South Africa, Gail Townsend. And then your word, Gail, say what's your word for today? Shani from the United States, eager to learn, eager in capital letters, nice. Gail, interested, awesome. Hello, Michelle from Cape Town. Okay, and your word, Michelle? Anna, South Africa, and she's happy to have Andy back. She was so excited when we said it's Andy. Was like, yay, I love him. Okay, Amy from the United States, she's feeling pumped. Amy's always feeling pumped, so she brings a lot of energy. I love it. It's awesome. Tiffany from South Africa, positively productive are her words. Wow. Yeah, Tiffany, you've had a day and a half, which is awesome, actually. Nice and busy day. Okay, let's hear. Who else? Who else is online? Joyce from Botswana. Beautiful. Okay, Joyce, tell us your word. Oh, Andy, I see Tandi's joining. She's like your biggest fan. She actually introduced us to each other, actually, which is awesome. Okay, so Joyce, what's your word? And then everybody else, what country you're from, your word for today, as we get prepared to hear a very, very interesting topic. Let's hear. We've got Valerie on, Suriata's on, Lindy's on. Come, everybody. Okay, Joyce says she's energetic. That's awesome. Great stuff. Suriata, Cape Town, very excited. Lovely. Okay, who else? Okay, and then while you're all putting your welcome words, there's also something I need to ask everybody out there, just to give us a little bit of feedback, because we've got some awesome and exciting coaching sessions coming up. We have the most exciting content that we are adding to our business management course. So that's also brilliant. And what I want to find out from all of you, Lindy, yay, she said she's excited. So what I want to find out from all of you is, can you list or type in your top 3 challenges, that you are having in your business at the moment? Okay, so you've got a few things to type up. So you've got where you're from, if you've done that, your welcome word, so Andy can see how you're feeling. And then also I think will be great for Andy to read as well, because he could maybe talk into that at the same time, is what top 3 challenges are you facing in your business at the moment? Just to see if everybody's on the same challenge path or where we're going. Okay, let's hear from you all. Let's go. Okay, let me tell everybody to log on again. Okay, so Michelle's word is inspired. Okay, that's awesome. Nice, Michelle. Well, after you hear Andy talk, you're going to be more than inspired. He's unbelievable. A lot of energy, so many wonderful ideas as well. Okay, everyone, are you all busy typing your top 3 challenges that you're facing in your business at the moment? Maybe nobody's facing challenges unless they're taking so long to type. Could be, hey? Oh dear. Maybe just now I'm going to get essays on our chat box. Okay, Marilee says staff. So her top 3 are all the same. Shani, motivating staff, getting the marketing mix right. Okay. Joyce is saying retaining clients. Amy, as a vendor, spa directors are too busy to look at brands because of short staffing. Okay. And what is the best way to follow up with decision makers, email or phone call? Okay, interesting. Surieta, getting staff motivated. Sure. Okay, so far we seem to have a common thread so far that it's about staff. Okay, there is one for client retention. Okay, any more, everybody? So what we've asked you to go into the chat box, for those of you who have just joined, is to let us know what your top 3, top 1, top 2 business challenges that you're facing at the moment. Surieta, getting the right promotions to attract clients. Okay, yeah, that's quite interesting because what we possibly used to do isn't necessarily working right now, correct? So it's continuously finding new and innovative ways to get those clients to come in. So Tiffany says getting clients to up their spend monthly, getting feedback on or answer from clients who have shown interest and then have gone quiet. Okay, so Tiffany and Amy are sort of in the same boat because they're both vendors. Okay, so that's interesting. You two are from 2 different parts of the world with a similar challenge. So that's quite interesting. Okay. Alrighty, so whilst everybody else, Janelle's joining, that's awesome. Okie dokes. So, Andy, I'm going to hand over to you. I think what would be nice, Andy, is if you tell everybody what you're up to and where you are. You need to make them as jealous as you made me before we got onto this call, please. And yeah, and then let's dive right into this communication session that you have from us.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. Good to see you, good to be back, as always. I hope everyone's well. And it's very kind that everyone's so excited, motivated, and I hope that you feel that way at the end. I always think when you're doing a presentation on how to present, this is the one you don't want to get wrong, you know? So let's see how it goes. Yeah, but for myself, I'm currently working as a spa consultant on various projects, a couple in Dubai, one in Malta, possibly one in Africa as well, in Angola. We'll see about that. I'm living in the Seychelles at the minute, just working on something over here as well. So, you know, not a bad part of the world to be in, even if it's just temporarily. It beats Derby, so apologies to anyone who knows Derby in the UK and loves it. Yeah, before this, I was at Six Senses. I worked there for 3 years. Lastly, in Ibiza. Before that, in Ziggy Bay in Oman. Before that, I was with Marriott for 5 years. Maldives before that. Italy, Brighton in the UK. So kind of good international experience. And I'm working on these projects now, which is quite exciting because I really enjoy the project side of spas and wellness. And as you all know, wellness is such a growing element. So, you know, there's a big demand for people with wellness knowledge and exploring that. So life is good right now. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. This is always the test. Okay, you see? All right. So as always, my presentations are kind of a combination of things I've learned, things I've read, sort of ramblings through my career. As I always say, a lot of the things I teach is because things I've done wrong in the past that I learned about and then corrected. So learn from my errors, and I don't know how long this is going to be, but I've put some ideas in. And if at any point you've got any questions, drop them in the box and we'll talk about them at the end. And if there's any particular areas that you're having trouble with that you want to talk about, we can talk specifically on that. Because with this topic and these ideas, you know, we could do a full day seminar and it wouldn't be enough on everything. So hopefully this will be a good overview for you and help you improve your presence and communication and confidence and all good stuff. Okay. So we're going to talk about what is presence exactly, and then moving on to speaking with gravitas and what that means, and then give you some tips on confident speaking and how to be a bit more confident generally. Okay, so firstly, what is presence? When you think about presence, what is it? Like, I put Freddie Mercury on because if I think about someone who has amazing stage presence, this is the first person that comes to my mind. But I think with presence, you know it when someone's got it, and you know it's there, and you know when it isn't there. It's rain. I don't know if you can hear this. It's raining. It's throwing it down in paradise. So, presence. What actually is it if you define it? It's the sum of our actions and our behaviors. And what do we mean by that? Well, in any given moment, having presence or not is a collection of different behaviors and actions that you do. So, for example, if you are in a stressful situation and you deal with it very well, if you're calm, if you're breathing well, if you're speaking well, your actions equate to presence, like the sum of your actions and behaviors. In the same way, when somebody is incongruent, or if somebody says something but their body language and actions don't represent what they look like. So when someone looks like they're saying something and they sound like they're confident, they sound like they're saying one thing, but their body language is doing something else. That mismatch is also an action and behavior that doesn't match. So then they wouldn't have that presence. That makes sense. All right. So with presence, it's not what you know, it's what you do. Because I think with any action related to presence or confidence, I think people kind of know what you should be doing, but you're not necessarily doing it. And presence is the sum of behavior, and it can be learned. I think this is, if you take nothing away from today about communication, just one thing, take this. Don't say to yourself, oh, I'm not a good speaker, I'm not a confident person, I can't confront people, or whatever thoughts you may have. Just say to yourself, I'm not yet the best I could be at talking, at confidence. It will come. Like all behaviors, everything is practiced, and no one has the birthright of confidence. It's just something you learn. So the good news, right? Okay, so why is speaking with presence important? Well, I love this quote: "Who dares not speak his thoughts is a slave." You know, all of our interactions in life and our exciting moments take a bit of confidence and presence, you know, whether you're asking someone to marry you, asking for a pay rise, if you're in a meeting and want to speak up, or if you have a staff member that you need to confront, but this person is a difficult person. All of these key moments, it's really important to have that presence. And, you know, this doesn't mean you need to change your entire personality, it's like putting on a piece of clothing. It's just something you can wear at a certain point to make yourself better and confident. So we can get stuck because of our emotions. So in a moment of truth, we could call it, when you're stressed out and worried, you're not speaking because you've got so many things going on. And if you wait for that point where, oh, I'm calm and ready, it will never come. So we have to overcome that. Difficult conversations, they define us. As I said, these moments of truth in life are so important. And it's so frustrating, isn't it? When you're in a moment, something happens, and you always go afterwards, oh, I wish I'd said that, or I wish I'd not said that, or why didn't I say something? And ultimately, we want to live our best life. And living our best life, it's all about having the confidence to speak up, and to do things. And from a personal point of view, doing these things throughout my career, it helped not just my work, but my personal life and the other elements of confidence. It flows through this. So it's really good. So firstly, where does this fear of speaking come from? And you can think about this as a general fear as well. So I've got this, I remember it's on a website called waitbutwhy.com. So this is what we believe, I think, is happening. So whenever we've got a moment of truth or we're concerned or worried, this is what we think. So, you know, if you're standing up, if I say you need to stand up and sing or make a speech, this is what you think is going on, right? And you think everyone's looking at you, you think everyone's judging me. Whereas the reality is more like this these days, right? You are, in the nicest possible way, fairly anonymous. The concerns you have is the same concerns everybody else has. Everyone else is worried about themselves and, like here, so busy on their phones that nobody really pays attention to what's going on with you. So if you make a mistake, what's the big deal? Okay, this is an interesting topic. I want to talk about imposter syndrome. Have you heard of imposter syndrome? Does anyone know what it is? You put it in the chat if you like.
No, not me. I haven't. But let's see what everybody says.
Faking it till you make it?
Sort of. Yeah, the faking element is part of it. Okay, no, I think no one is. Right. It's a really interesting concept. So the imposter syndrome means it's the very same internal experience. You believe you're not as competent as others perceive you to be. And it's accompanied by the anxiety that other people will eventually find out you're not as clever as you think you are, or as capable. So, for example, let's say you work really well in your job and you get promoted to, say, a spa manager. Great. Then in this position, you think, you know, do I really deserve this? I kind of got it accidentally. I didn't do anything special. Eventually, someone will notice this and realize they've made a mistake and then point it out to me. And it's a very, very common phenomenon. And everyone sort of experiences this at different parts of their lives. And from a work perspective, it's like if you go somewhere new, you start a new job, you have this sensation. A lot of people have this sensation. So you're waiting to be pointed out for someone to say, hey, you shouldn't be here, should you? No, you're right. So it's called imposter syndrome, and it's becoming more and more known. Interestingly, there's some very familiar faces who have imposter syndrome even to this day. So you have on the left, Tom Hanks, so famous actor. He says, when he does films now, he waits for somebody to say, you really can't do this. He's waiting to be found out. In the middle, you have Maya Angelou. She's a very famous writer, author, and she's written 11, 12 books on spirituality and wellness and confidence as well. And she's the same thing. She's waiting for someone to point out to say, you can't actually write, do you realize? And on the right, you've got Lady Gaga, who also she still feels like she's the schoolgirl, and she's on stage and she's like, okay, when is someone going to tell me you shouldn't be here? So even the most famous people you think have got no right to have imposter syndrome, they feel it as well. So you're in good company if you have this. And if you do have this, please put in the notes, like, I have it still to this day. An interesting story, it says here, A Tale of Two Neils. I heard there was a podcast with, his name's Neil Gaiman. He's an author. He wrote The Graveyard Book and Stardust. There's a famous film, Stardust. It's a really great author. And he said he went to this convention there was other writers there, scientists, thinkers. And he was like, looked around the room going, God, I really shouldn't be here. I'm just a writer of, kids' books. It was easy. I feel really uncomfortable. And it was like a 4 or 5 day event. And then on the second day, he said he was chatting with another guy, also called Neil. And the conversation went something like, the other Neil said, I really shouldn't be here at this. They've got all these intelligent, great people. He said, all I did, I just went where they told me to go. And Neil Gaiman said, yeah, but you did go to the moon and you were the first man on there. So I think you've got a good reason to be here. And I love that. So even Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, has, okay, who am I to be around? So be confident that it's a feeling that everybody has. What's on the other side of fear? Nothing. This is from Jamie Foxx. I heard this on a podcast with Tim Ferriss. So if you get a chance to listen, it's fantastic. Jamie Foxx he's an actor, singer, comedian, impressionist, really talented guy. And on this, he said, he teaches his kids, when you're afraid of something, what's the worst that can happen? And to quote him, he's like, so what happens if I stand up in the street and go, ah, in front of everybody? What happens? Nothing. They might look for a second and then they're moved on. So what we believe is all in our head. Everything to do with fear, confidence, imposter syndrome, it's all in there. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some of the actual tips that really help me to understand and to help develop confidence and presence, hopefully. First thing we're going to look at is you want to find what your status is. And here you've got a picture of a very happy dog and a slightly cross-looking cat. So when you look at the status of people, although this is simplified, it's a really good way to think of it. You kind of got dog people and cat people. And what you mean by that is, a dog person is someone who is, say, very friendly. If you think about having a dog, they love to see you, don't they? They love attention. When they see you, they're really happy. If you call it, it comes over. They miss you when you've gone out. They're really like all over you, aren't they? And if you think of a person like that, think of like a nodder, someone who's really happy, kind. They're very friendly. Now, if you think of a cat, cats are, if you own a cat, they don't, if you call their name, they don't care. They come in and they come out. If you're trying to get a cat's attention, they don't really listen. You have to kind of do counterintuitive things to get a cat's attention, right? So you think of a person who's like a cat person, they're very sort of direct. They don't listen to rules. They are very independent. So you can be a dog person or a cat person. And most of us are kind of a mixture of the two. And you can think of it another way. A cat person is like a king or queen, like very regal, still, direct. Whereas a dog person is more of like a carer and a nice person. Now, both of these things, there's nothing wrong with both of them. And actually, you need a combination of both traits. You need to be warm, you need to be friendly, and then you also need to have the gravitas and the presence of a cat. So which are you? If you think about yourself in different scenarios and different situations, you're going to be more cat, more dog, depending on where you are. But most of us kind of fall into one place. So if you're mostly cat personality and you want to have more presence and more gravitas, because remember, gravitas is both the firmness and the control as well as the warmth. You should focus on relationship less than task. So you can be direct. If you want to get things done, you just focus on task and then forget about the relationship. Be more informal, be fascinated with people and be interested, and see people as old friends. When you have this connection with people and you see them like this, you tend to get more of a stronger communication. So if you feel you're mostly dog, you do the opposite. You focus on the task, not the relationship. So you want to get that done. Minimize nodding. Sometimes when we're nervous or you're with someone who you feel has more authority, we tend to do when we're listening. Yeah. And that nodding actually makes us feel less in control. Then we should cut fillers. This takes practice, but we fear having a pause. And I'll talk about it a bit more later, but a filler is when you go, like a filler's like that, where I'm thinking of something and, it makes the listener lose credibility in you because they lose interest. It's not a personal thing, but if you're not talking concisely, people kind of switch off, okay? Then do a newsreader. So the newsreader is if you ever watch the news, when the newsreader speaks, they lower their intonation at the end of the sentence, like, good evening, here is the news. So you go from up to down, right? So if you're saying something and you want to have a confident, strong statement, like to a staff member who's difficult, let's say you've got someone who's being late a lot and you want to talk about it. And you said, hey, listen, Jen, I really need you to come now on time, starting from tomorrow. If you said the opposite, hey, Jen, I really need you to start coming on time, starting tomorrow. Very different feeling, right? One's a question, one is a statement. So think of newsreader. Good evening, here is the news. All right. So this is about speaking with gravitas and having some sparkle. Okay, so a little exercise you can do. I think everybody's on mute, so don't worry, no one's going to hear you. You want to find your true voice. So if you can see here, you want to find your diaphragm first of all. So find where your ribs separate. It's kind of where, if you're wearing a bra, your bra strap apparently would be there. So find it and just tap it. It's right between, as I say, where the ribs are. Take a deep breath in and go, ah, and again, ah. And that point there is your true voice. And you can practice this and feel where your voice is coming from, because it should come from the diaphragm. And you can exaggerate diaphragm, because when we get nervous, what happens is we do this, and then we start to rise, and this is exaggerated, but when you're up, your voice is up here. It's like, I'm so sorry, can't do it. Whereas when we're calm and relaxed, our arms drop, it comes from the diaphragm. You can hear the difference. So find your true voice. Then you want to be still. So stillness equals power. And if you think of movies or TV shows or anything, when they put powerful people in, they're always still. And you can think of, say, like characters like this is The Godfather, all very still, everyone's moving around, or Game of Thrones, the kings and the queens are always the stillest person in the room. Or you think of the opposite, like a Jim Carrey character. They're never a powerful person. So one thing to practice this, when you're speaking and you want to have presence and gravitas, don't move your head, particularly if you want to make a clear point and you're talking to somebody. Minimizing this, it grounds you as well. So think of stillness. As I mentioned before, learn to drop the fillers. This is something that takes practice, but when you embrace the pause, you sound better. Because in your head, when you're talking, especially in public or a meeting or in a stressful situation, the pause sounds like you start to panic. So you don't want to sound like you don't know what you're saying. So comes in. And the same with you know, like those are often habitual. And if you record yourself talking, although everybody hates hearing their own voice, it's actually great because you can actually listen to it. And when you listen to it and you can make a change. And then you want to be speaking in a lower tone. And I don't mean exaggerating and doing this. I mean speaking in your natural voice, but in the lowest ember of it. And I have another exercise, which is in the hands, which will help you and demonstrate. And it's the power of your hands. So what you want to do is put your hands up as if you're being defensive like this. And just say the days of the week. So go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay? Then shake your hands. Now put your palms down by your side and then do the same. So your hands will be like that, down in a relaxed position. And then say the days of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You should feel a slight difference in how you communicate. It's very subtle, but it's just enough to give you that gravitas there. Another thing is then about not overusing hands. It's great to make gestures like this, but sometimes we do too much if we're nervous, or you might be playing with your fingers or moving around. I'll talk about later how you can overcome this, but it's just again about practice. Then you want to own the space. When you're talking to somebody or you are in a group situation particularly, we tend to shrink again, and we almost don't want to be heard, and we shrivel. Whereas actually, you want to project your energy. So this means talking to the whole room. Like here, I'm talking to everybody. If I'm talking to you, I'm imagining projecting behind the screen and out. And I'm trying to let my space flow. When you're open, you've got open body language, your energy flows out. It's very important, but it really works. And then if you open yourself up versus this, it's a very different feeling. And then this thing about the internal monitor, I think about this like a spotlight. When we're nervous or insecure and we're talking, again, I use this example, you go up on stage and I say, hey, Marissa, I want you to go and sing in front of 100 strangers. Oh God. Like for me, you think, oh God, how do I look? I feel like I'm standing out. This monitor, like a spotlight, is in, and you're focusing on yourself, your voice, I'm moving, I'm nervous. Instead, you should project out. Like when you're comfortable and confident and you're talking to somebody, like at home in your family, your monitor doesn't exist. You're projecting out and you're focused on the conversation and them. And that's the same thing. You should be, like for me here, I'm focusing on what I can give to you and the value. I'm not thinking much of myself internally. Okay, then eye contact's a biggie. The more powerful somebody is, the more confident they are to stare people out. Now, I'm not suggesting you do that, but sometimes it can be a little bit nervous looking at people in the eye, especially when we're giving those crucial conversations, right? So a really good thing is this triangle and the 3-second rule. So the 3-second rule is, let's say you're doing a talk in a group, you can look at someone like this for 3 seconds, move on to the next person, 3 seconds, and so on. It's like 3 seconds. You're not jumping around the room. It just shows you're calm, you're confident. I've got something to say. If you have a bit of trouble looking someone directly in the eye, you can use the triangle. If you imagine on my face, around my eye, sort of the eye level, and then up to the top of my nose here, if I look someone in the face, and you can try this, there, nobody notices where you're looking. It feels odd because you think, oh, they're going to know I'm not looking in their eyes, but it doesn't. So you can look here, and it's much easier to do that and maintain eye contact. You get the confident feeling, but you don't have necessarily that nervous feeling. Okay, very good. All right, and then you need to ground yourself. As I said earlier, when we're nervous, we rise up. So when you ground yourself in the earth, you feel more confident. And then this is all about, if you're standing, feel the feet on the ground, lower your shoulders, breathe, and go into the earth. If you're sitting, you can do the same, but you just put your feet on the floor, feel the seat beneath your bum, feel your feet, and then ground yourself. A good tip that I liked is this one. In a situation where I want more confidence, imagine a dragon's tail where your tail would be. Like I imagine a giant green tail wrapping down onto the floor and ground you down. I think it's partly because of the funny imagery. It just relaxes you a little bit as well. But it just helps you really start to feel the ground beneath you. Okay. Now, all of these tips are great. The best thing that ever happened to me was when I was with Marriott. We did this course where we had to film ourselves. There was 20 people in this class, and we filmed ourselves giving a speech, like 10 minutes, I think, and just talking about anything in front of the group. And then we all watched it back with each other and gave feedback on each other's performance. Obviously, it's pretty uncomfortable doing that, because to see yourself anywhere on film alone is uncomfortable, but in front of other people, it's even worse. But actually, again, it's that thing of, what are you afraid of? And when you see it, you see all of your tics and movements. Like I remember I was talking and I was like this. I look like a psychopath. I was like, yeah. And I had no idea. Now I know now, hopefully I'm not doing it, but my eyes should be more relaxed. My hands are calmer, and it gives you that feedback. And once you know it, it's, oh, okay. Because if I tell you this, you don't realize it's not the same thing. So it gives you this feedback, okay? Then my final thoughts are just about some group speaking, because this is often the most difficult. And if you can get over this one, then the others tend to follow. So number one, the audience is the hero, not you. So when you're talking to people in the group, it's not about you, it's about them and what you can contribute. Number two, be the observer, not the star. We're so wrapped up in our own head sometimes that when we're thinking about speaking or thinking about an event or anything, we think so much, oh God, what if this happens? What if this happens? Oh, I said this, I forgot, I put something wrong on the slide. Oh, I'm such an idiot. If you're an observer, if you were observing someone else in the same situation, you'd be like, oh, it was really good, you were fine, no one noticed. So take yourself out of your own head and don't be the star, be the observer. Okay, for Zoom meetings, with the pandemic and everything that's happened, we spend more and more times on Zoom meetings, and we tend to do Zoom meetings like we do emails like this. And you're trying to talk, and a lot of people have trouble on Zoom. And I think it's because we hunched over, everything I said, hunched tight. We can't breathe. Like, no, I'm standing up. It's much better for me to do a Zoom meeting or anything standing. If you can, do that. I love this one. In a meeting, it's okay to be quiet. Sometimes I think, and I've been there, you're at a meeting and think, oh, should I be saying something? Okay, I've got nothing to contribute, but I feel like I should just say something so that they know I'm here. But it's okay. Do you contribute? Do you need to break the silence? If you've got nothing to say, it's okay. Number 5, speak up. It's about contributing, not competing. So just think about your contribution. It's related to number 4. You know, it's okay to be quiet, but I want to contribute. Am I contributing something positive? And if you do have something you believe, just say it. It's okay. All right. So the last quote, I did share this, but I love the philosophy of Russell here. So really, people aren't that worried about what you're doing or what you're saying, so you can drift around the world relatively anonymously. You must not feel persecuted and examined. Liberate yourself from that idea that people are watching you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it.
That's brilliant. And yeah, absolutely love it. So
Good.
I think let's see who has any questions to ask. Does anybody have any challenges with speaking to their staff with presence, or, you know, making sure that you're heard, and the whole eye contact thing, or anything that you'd like to share with Andy? There goes a question. Oh, I think Michelle's asking me about recording staff huddles. And yes, so Michelle, you would definitely ask your staff for permission and say, I'm going to record the staff huddle, or I'm going to record the staff meeting for all of us to watch later on, and you share it on your works group. But it really is, I'm sure you'll agree with me, Andy, to get a lot of insight into not only your presentation style, but into the engagement of your team, is to record a meeting or two every now and again. Record it and watch it back and see what you pick up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you certainly need permission. And you can record meetings, but also you can record yourself. So if you want to do it privately, either at home or get a friend or colleague to record you, just doing, like I said, do a 5-minute presentation on anything. And then if it is, try and get 2 or 3 people, like a small group. And also, then when you do it, sort of raise yourself up so you sort of feel like you're being looked up at, because it makes you the most nervous, and then you'll pick up everything. So it does work really well. Shani, would you agree part of speaking with presence in staff meetings or any meeting is being prepared? Absolutely. Yeah, preparation gives you the key and the confidence, right? So if I'm going to a meeting and I'm prepared, I know my stuff, I know what I want to say, I know the message I want to get across, it will help enormously. Because yeah, regardless, if all these tips are fantastic, but if I don't know what I'm talking about, my confidence will definitely go.
And then Michelle is saying, do you not think that staff could hold back if they know that you are recording? So what do you think? I'll answer after you, Andy.
They can, but I think they soon get used to it. What happens is, it depends how long it is. If you film it and then initially people are kind of funny, but after a bit of time, people tend to then forget about it and then become their normal selves.
Yeah. So Michelle, speaking into that, I recorded a staff meeting once and everybody actually forgot that they were being recorded. And it was the best recording ever because we all watched it back we saw who was not focused, who wasn't listening, body language, everything. And it definitely, if you don't naturally speak with presence and you don't naturally speak with gravitas, I was going to say authority, but I like the word gravitas, then recording yourself and recording your team is an excellent way for you to figure out how to improve and watch it back. It really is brilliant. It is one of the tasks that we give you to do as well in the business management course. And everybody always says to me, oh, do we really have to record a staff huddle? Do we really have to record a meeting? And I push for it. And then they always come back to me with, that was the best thing we've ever done. I've never done it before, and it was the best thing for everybody because I learned so much about everything, about the way I speak, about the way the staff listen and interpret what I say, about body language, about engagement, all of that. So it's definitely a good idea to record yourself. Does anybody have any other questions for Andy? So Andy, how often should we be meeting with our staff, talking about speaking with presence? How often should we be speaking to our teams in a formal environment?
I always did a weekly formal. So a formal environment once a week, like a group, say. And then we would have the daily huddle. Every day we'd have the more informal one. But certainly on a weekly basis, you want to be talking to the staff as a group.
Out of 10, how important do you rank that weekly meeting?
Oh, 10. But it's always the one that people often cut off. Right? So, oh, we're busy, we've got some treatments booking in. And then okay. And it gets into the habit then that they don't have it. And then you start to wonder why, staff aren't motivated. No one knows what the goals are. So this is why it's critical for so many reasons.
Okay, so for those having staff challenges that came up in the beginning, would you comfortably say that going back to basics and having a look at, are you hosting weekly staff meetings? Could be something that they could start with. What do you think? Yes or no? Did I cut out? Andy, are you there?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry, what did you say?
Are you back? No, I said that perhaps in the beginning, some people were saying staff challenges, staff challenges. So do you think that they could go back to the basics of checking, are they having weekly staff meetings as one of their points to see whether they can motivate their staff better?
Yeah, for sure. That's certainly one thing, because in a group situation, it's great to talk about. If you've got the environment where they can talk openly, it's brilliant because they'll talk about their problems. But the key thing is listening. And if you can action as a leader, as their boss, if you can action what they're talking about, they'll be motivated. Because the thing with motivation is, I can't make you motivated. I can give you a spring and maybe give you like a pep talk, which will last 10 minutes. But motivation has to come from you. And often the reason people aren't motivated is that they feel that there's no point, they're not listened to, and they're not valued as individuals. And I think, it's the group meeting and then the one-to-one, and having a one-to-one and truly listening and saying, okay, if you don't seem motivated to me, having that conversation, the crucial conversation, you don't seem motivated because of this. Like, I don't know if you are motivated because I can't see inside your soul, but I can say what it looks like to me. Is everything okay? And having that discussion.
So there's a question there, Andy. How do you bring in a team member that is always an outsider to communicate?
Do you mean, for example, Gail, in a group setting? So like this team meeting, for example, yeah? I think what you need to get into the habit of is asking questions of people in the group. Now, if someone's very shy, you have to tread carefully, because if you suddenly say, hey, Gail, what do you think? And you don't normally speak, they can be a bit, oh God, put him on the spot. So what I used to do is talk about it and say, I know it's in the meetings, you don't say too much. Is everything okay? Do you feel comfortable to talk? What's the issue privately? And if they say, no, it's okay, I'm just listening. You say, okay, well, is it okay if I ask your opinion on something in the next meeting, and doing it this way? And that works quite well, because normally if they've got no issues about talking, they'll contribute. If they've got a private problem, hopefully you've got that relationship that they can tell you about it.
Yeah, I totally love that, Andy. So preparing somebody to contribute is a brilliant idea, getting them ready. And I remember having a staff meeting once with somebody, Gail, who was exactly like what you're saying, doesn't communicate, like an outsider. And by just tapping into what her strengths are or were, and she was passionate about nails, she was a nail technician, and just including something about nails, or, oh, everybody have a look at so-and-so's nails that she did yesterday. Look at this before and after photograph. Eventually slowly gets people engaged and to feel part of the team. Almost got to make them want to talk.
One thing we did, 6 Senses was quite good. This is a good one.
Yes.
So the huddle, we used to have like every day a game. So we used to give everybody, you need to lead something. It could be either a game, it can be talking about something to do with wellness or spa, or like in this case, talk about nails, things like that. So what you do then is you say, okay, you give them advance, and it gets them up in front in a non-pressured situation, because it's not to do with work and no one's judging it. And you're not asking a direct question, but you say, look, you've got a week to prepare. So, Marissa, you're Tuesday, Gail, you're Wednesday, Shani, you're Thursday. And you do that, and it starts getting them out of their shell. And it's a nice way, if their issue is shyness in a group, that it's a very nice, easy way to bridge it.
Love it, love it, love it. So does anybody else have any other questions for Andy? Otherwise, let's give him our closing words. How do you feel after today's session? I have a new word that I'm going to make part of my vocab now, Andy. It's called gravitas. I love that word. Love it, love it.
It's a great word.
Okay, so Gail says she's excited. Okay, everybody come. Let's give Andy our closing words. Thank you so much for your time, Andy. I was going to say you could have been on the beach, but you couldn't have because it was raining.
True.
So
perfect timing, I think.
It was perfect timing, but thank you anyway. Thank you for your precious time. Oh, how's that for a word there? Dragon tail. Wow, that's awesome.
It works. Honestly, it sounds crazy, but it really works.
Brilliant. Inspired. Lindy is fulfilled. Motivated from Danae. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. Surieta is very excited too. So yes, I think something that we don't often think about, and that is so important as leaders, owners, and managers of our businesses, or even as aspiring therapists who want to move into a management position, is how do we speak? How do we present? How do we come across to our team? So it is a very, very critical element of management. Thank you so, so much. There's Anna saying, thank you, brilliant. Bridget, thank you. Michelle, thank you. Joyce, thank you. Great. Tiffany, thank you. And so on and so on.
Well, yeah, thanks, everyone. You're most welcome. I really hope it helps. And all of these things you can find out more about. If you want to drop me a message, Marissa, you can share. I'm
Yes.
on the group.
You're on the group.
You can email me, fine. I'll happily help out.
Divine. Thank you, Andy. Thank you. And everybody have the most beautiful rest of your week. If it's morning for you, have a beautiful day. And if it's evening for you, have a wonderful evening and a beautiful rest. Thank you, Andy. Cheers. Lots of love.
Take care. Bye.